So for the past 2 days, I have been streaming Deadpool, and I just finished it last night. Now, the first time I ever played it was in 2015-ish. I haven't played it since, until now. Now, it's been delisted, and the game is nearly $100 for an actual copy, but if you have a PC, it's completely free on Internet Archive. Once again, another example of why game preservation is so important to the industry. Now, I do have some thoughts because I do want to tell you if it is worth it to seek it out. Whether that's as a fan of Deadpool, is it truly worth it to seek out $100 game, even just loose, like not even complete. Complete, you're looking at least 170. So after playing it, I have definitely some thoughts. I'm going to explore this in kind of a few categories, starting with story, humor, and then gameplay, because gameplay is where I have the most critiques, because to me there's a few decisions that just left me unsatisfied. They did the characters very, very true to how they are represented. The story is very, very cute. Basically, the entire story just boils down to Deadpool wants to make a game. High Moon said no. He blows up their offices, I think that's what he blows up. It's never actually specified, but that makes, Peter, the game director, go yes. And I just love those moments. But then the story kind of boils down to Sinister is making a bunch of clones. You go to Genosha, which is a very famous place in those comics, and you just kind of get to explore this short story about, you're kind of just playing a good comic book, which is exactly what I want. Now, that's about as basic as I can get, and also, the story is pretty basic. What lies underneath is the humor. Riddles this thing. Not everything lands. There are some jokes that make me laugh. This lever right here. Mighty fine work with that lever, son. Like, forcing the game to tell you that this is the lever you need to pull so that these doors open. There's something so special about that. Not to mention how amazing the delivery by Nolan North is incredible. And he is the voice in my head when I read Deadpool. Because I do love those comics. It's just hard to really find the great ones. And if you love comic Deadpool and kind of wish you got it in the movie, which you don't really get the comic version of Deadpool, you get a good version of it for sure. Especially that first movie. But it's missing something. You're going to find it in this game for sure. For that, I think it's totally worth it. Now, if you're just a casual fan and you play the movie, it might be a good introduction to him, but overall, I think the comedy lands pretty well from the very beginning. Problem lies with the weird challenges, in a way. Now, a normal challenge, like let's say for a boss fight, you have a boss fight like you'll find in the Dark Souls series, where even if you die over and over and over again, you don't really get mad because you know in your head that this is a pure skill issue. What you're doing is trying to learn how to overcome it. It's all a pattern. In this game, there's really only one boss fight that I kind of had to learn something. The rest of it was just waves of enemies that became overwhelming. To me, that's not a challenge. Sure, I kept dying over and over again, but it was more frustrating because the more and more I kept fighting, the more and more were spawning, and there wasn't anything to learn. At least with good boss fights, or just waves in general, usually there's something you have to learn. You have to do this or do that. But here, you're just kind of hoping that you don't get too overwhelmed, which I was. To me, that's not, we're trying to make a challenge. That's, we're trying to pad the runtime for a game with a story that's already pretty short. So for that, I just have to dog a point. I think overall, it's worth it if you're wanting to get into comic Deadpool without having to really dive into the old comics and whatever and scour the internet. I think it's a good place to see if you really enjoy comic Deadpool of who he is and you like the movies. And I think it's worth it if you really enjoy comic Deadpool. I think you're going to really love the references and what they do. But if you're looking for just a good game with good gameplay mechanics, I think you're going to be a little disappointed. So, is it worth it in 2026? That highly depends on you. I think overall, yeah, it's pretty worth it. Is it worth $100? $170 minimum for the complete. I don't know. If you have a PC and you know, I would recommend going on Internet Archive and checking it out. That's all I'll say. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Every opinion is different, and I will see you in the next video soon.